EdTech Mondays Kenya is supported by the MasterCard Foundation Center for Innovative Teaching and Learning in partnership with EdTech East Africa.
Hello and welcome to this very special edition of EdTech Mondays Kenya. This month we're doing things a little bit differently, where we're having learners, yes, you heard right, students actually take part in Kenya's ICT education and training policy, where they themselves are sharing ideas on how to make this policy actually work for them. My name is Ian Wafula and we're at the National EdTech Summit here at CEMASTEA. Today we're zooming in on a powerful conversation: learner participation in ICT policy. Why does it matter? What's missing from the current framework? And how can young voices help shape the future of education in our country? At this National EdTech Summit, students from across Kenya have gathered to reimagine the future of digital learning, not just as participants, but as co-designers of the very policies that shape it. Guided by Kenya's 2021 ICT in Education and Training Policy, these young change makers are diving deep into the gaps, challenges, and missed opportunities in how EdTech is being rolled out in classrooms and homes across the country. In 6 dynamic policy design challenge groups, they're tackling critical themes like digital inclusion, online safety, climate education, and data protection areas where policies meet practice and where their lived experiences matter the most. Well, before we jump into this discussion, let's make sure we're all speaking the very same language. Here are some key terms you'll hear throughout this edition. The first one is ICT integration in education. This is the use of digital tools to enhance teaching, learning, and education management. Then we have digital literacy, which is an individual's ability to use technology effectively to access, manage, and create information. We also have online safety and wellness, which refers to the processes and procedures put in place to protect learners from potential risks associated with the use of technology. Another one is data protection, which is keeping personal data secure and using it ethically in line with Kenya's Data Protection Act. And finally, we have a school-home digital bridge. This is strengthening connections between classroom learning and home-based support for holistic learning. So, how did all this come together? What actually sparked this bold move to put students at the head of policy design? For that, let's speak to Jeniffer Kaberi, the founder of Mtoto, to shed light on this initiative. Jeniffer, thank you so much for making time for us. Perhaps someone who's hearing about Mtoto for the first time, what's the concept?
So Mtoto is a children's digital company, and what we do is we empower children to speak for themselves. And especially in the digital age now, we empower them to use the digital spaces to speak for themselves. So we use something we call the play, because we believe play is the natural language for children. So we provide platforms for children, physical and digital platform for children. Lifelong learning, we teach children relevant skills like digital skills, AI literacy skills, content creation skills. And then we do access. We advocate for access of information, and also we do that information. We provide children information that is accessible for them, like child-friendly, age-appropriate, and safe for them. And then why we yielding? Because we believe the role of parents and adults and government is very important to enable children to be able to express themselves and to participate. So in yielding, we work with adults to be able to yield some power to children, not taking away, but just give them a little bit, allow a child to speak, give a table to a child. And then we do a lot of evidence, do a lot of research around children and technology, the digital space, and then safety by design. We're very big ensuring that we are safe by ourselves, but also advocating for safety by design principles and systems, both physical and digital spaces. Yeah.
Let's talk a bit about what's happening here at the Learners EdTech Summit. Quite unique.
Okay.
What are we doing here?
So here we are on platforms. So we are providing platforms for children to be able to inform the EdTech policies in Kenya. So we are hoping with EdTech Summit, the Learners Summit, we are able to influence how children how policies for EdTech are provided. So with this, when you're bringing children, and the children are coming from across Kenya, from arid, we have children from the refugee settings, and these children will be able to inform how EdTech solutions should look like, what EdTech, how it should be regulated. In reality, they're the ones who are engaging with these products. These products are supposed to help them to become better, to learn. But if they don't inform them, most of the time we'll sit in a boardroom and do one workshop with adults, and we think this is good for them, but children will scrap it off.
With past policies, for instance, or even the current one, for instance, the 2021 ICT policy, you'd find that children have not been necessarily as involved as you're saying it's important. Why do you think this has been the case?
So, children are not a priority. They're always an afterthought.
But isn't that ironic, especially when such programs are meant for them?
Because we have adultism. Adultism is thinking because you have lived on earth longer, okay, you are taller, you have less hair, you have more experience than someone who has not lived on earth less years, okay? So, and you think that you understand childhood because you have been a child before. But in reality, childhoods are not the same. My childhood and that of my children is not the same. Okay? So people assume because I've been a child before, I understand and I can be able to speak on behalf of children. They forget that every generation is different and every childhood is different.
And so when you look at the ICT policy 2021, what are some of the gaps that are existing between what is actually on policy and what is in reality?
Something that is coming over and over again is lack of devices, okay? The government has this really amazing, ambitious plan to ensure that every child is having digital learning, but how many schools actually have these devices, okay? I'll give you an example of a school that has 2,000 children and they have 50 computers. Where is equity there, okay? Even having devices is nice. What about electricity? Okay? Just simple electricity. Schools don't have electricity. And then if you're going to upgrade that, internet access.
And as much as you're also trying to involve the children into the policy making, some aspects could be a bit more technical when it comes to that. How do you then make a summit like this more accessible? How do you make them ensure that this is what they're trying to do and you're trying to break the policy down for them?
So we simplify everything into child-friendly language. So for us at Mtoto News, we have like a reference group of children. So when you have a text, we'll do the first simplification and then we'll send it to children. And then is this relatable? Is it simplified? Do you guys think it's going to be understandable? And then we have to, like even here, you'll see we have two groups of children. We have 6 to 12-year-olds, and then we have 13 and above to 17-year-olds. And even the 6 to 13-year-olds, we can be able to cut them. We divide them into 6 to 9 and then 10 to 12. So we try to simplify it into languages. We use animations, we use conversational, okay? We try as much as possible to simplify it into a language that children can be able to understand. So it's not ambiguous and it's not like big for them. So when they are relating, and that's why it's for us, we have something we call the GEAR model of participation. So we do preparation. So we prepare the children and we ensure that they understand the policy. So when they're coming here, we are not thinking rhetoric. They are coming, they understand. We are going to influence privacy. We are going to online safety. We are going to teacher and learner support. We are going to resilience education. We are going to influence all those 5 areas that need to be influenced in the policy. Yes.
And so for you as Mtoto News and as Jeniffer, how are you ensuring that some of the things that are coming out of this summit will actually be implemented or be considered as people continue to implement the 2021 policy?
Number one, we have invited highest offices in the land. So we've invited the PS for children, PS education, and a representative from the ICT. We are ensuring that the right people are going to be in the room to listen to children. And then number 2, we are going to write a document that is going to be handed over to the Ministry of Education during the main EdTech Summit. So we are going to have a document that is going to be handed over to Ministry of Education to ensure that it's implemented. But we are going to take another step. We are writing a white paper. This is what Kenyan children want to be included in EdTech. Okay, and this document is going to be submitted to the ministries, ICT, Education, Children, and also at the African Union to ensure that children are this is what they want in EdTech.
Yeah. And finally, Jennifer, moving forward, what role should the Ministry of Education at the national and county level play to ensure that children's voices are heard when it comes to policy implementation?
So we need a new child participation guideline that is relevant to our current issues. And then both at national and the county. So I want to do kudos to Nairobi County. Nairobi County has a child participation guideline, the only county in this country that has a child participation guideline. So number two is ensure that you have like a reference group or a child advisory board that helps you look at documents from a child lens. Okay, because if you don't look at a child lens, you will be shocked. These children are going to be the next adults. Okay, you're just thinking the public does not like me because you've not involved them as children. Okay, so have like advisory boards, and then make sure that before you start anything, policies, bring children. Okay, as Mtoto News, we are ready. We've supported national, regional governments to be able to do some of these child participation processes, so we can be able to support that.
What we've just heard from Jeniffer Kaberi is a powerful reminder that learners do not just experience the outcomes of policy, they live its successes and shortcomings every single day. But what does it actually look like when students are given the space to shape those policies themselves? Here at the summit, that question came to life through the Learner Policy Design Challenge. 6 teams, 6 pressing issues, 1 mission to bring their lived experiences into the heart of the ICT in education policy and conversation. This is a bit about what your presentation was on.
It was about inclusive and accessible learning for each and every learner, whether in Kenya or not in Kenya. And we tend to look at the children who are left out in education, especially when it comes to digital literacy. Most kids are left out, mostly the ones who are not abled. They tend to feel neglected, they tend to feel bad because they're not included in all this. In classes, they're separated because, you know what, you can't use a computer, so we'll put you out in the way. So they tend to feel bad. Yeah. And through inclusive and accessible learning, we're able to make sure that they also get to enjoy digital literacy, experience the good feelings that others also experience. In the part where capital status comes from, people who are not that well developed, they don't have money to afford all this stuff, they can be able to get these devices, learn, and still feel included.
Yeah. My presentation today was about safe classes, safe classes online, of course. Yeah, and it was really good. Yeah. So a safe class to me, just presenting yourself freely, knowing that you will have a positive judgment because of other measures here and there.
Yeah, and the reason why this event is happening today, this summit is happening, is so that government can bring young people like you into understanding what the policy is and also contribute. Do you feel like you've contributed and do you feel like you've been heard?
I feel like I've really contributed because when I was there, while I was presenting, I got an opportunity to speak about a lot. I also spoke about those who don't have access to the internet first, and what if they do access this? How will it be of effect to them? Will it be of positivity or negativity? How will they get to learn from it? Just trying to be a voice for others, just trying to advocate, Yeah.
And you're lucky because there was someone from government who was listening to your presentation. What feedback did you get?
They have tried to include us in the policy making. They have promised that they're going to try and make these not abled children to be included. They will also try to include also the abled in order to balance things. Because if we say that we want to include everyone, yet we're depending on their minds, then things won't work out for what they actually need. So we are happy that they are able to trust and work with us.
From digital skills and inclusion to online safety and climate education, these students have raised critical issues and offered thoughtful, grounded solutions. But how are these ideas being received by people responsible for shaping and implementing policy? To help us reflect on the learner recommendations and what they could actually mean for the future of ICT in education, I had a chat with Kawira Gikambi from the Ministry of Education. All right, Kawira, thank you very much for making time for us. I actually caught you watching some of the sessions and presentations by the students, especially the one on inclusion. What stood out from you from all these sessions?
What stood out for me really was involvement of the learners in the first place, the children's voices. And for me, as an educationist, a teacher, and a policy developer, the voice of the child is very, very critical. And it's amazing how much knowledge these children have. What stood out even more was the kind of research they have done. They have put in a lot of effort to do some good research and then come and present and bring out the critical issues.
Yeah.
The presentations were great. The strategies they are proposing are very real, evidence-based, and those that can work, yes.
And you being in these rooms, has it kind of shown you the importance of including the learners and the basically all the stakeholders into policy making?
That's even a constitutional requirement in policy making process. Engagement of all key stakeholders, according to our constitution, it is actually mandatory for you to develop a public policy. When we look at the education sector, the key stakeholders, actually the most critical stakeholders are the learners and the teachers. So you cannot leave them out in the policy development process, yes. Therefore,
what structures are there in place then to ensure that policymakers, stakeholders, and mostly the learners are brought together in such such conferences or summits?
Yes, this is an eye-opener for us through collaboration with key stakeholders, with our partners, with the private sector, media, all stakeholders who can be able to bring together these learners and the teachers. One thing that has stood out is that, first of all, I noted that these learners, first of all, they are organized. I think it is possible to organize them from the regional level, you know, looking at it logistically. Sometimes it is the logistics that do not enable us to bring the number that we want. But mostly we start by sampling out because we need representation from all regions. So we can have it at the regional level, having teachers and learners' voices at the regional level, and then we can organize one national summit for them. That is very important. Those are the lessons we are learning from this particular forum. Of course, in the previous policy development processes, we have been doing it. But mostly, you find that accessing all the 47 counties, sometimes as it's required, is not easy. But this is the way to go. We have new guidelines and regulations on how to develop public policies, and this is one of them. Yes.
And of course, for the hope of many learners who are here today is that some of the gaps that they have identified will be incorporated or at least embraced by the government. So what quick practical steps are we taking moving forward from here?
So the quick steps that we should take is to ensure that all the good suggestions, solutions, strategies that have been, you know, discussed. And I know we have done a lot of discussions, deliberated on critical issues. This report, I know there is a report emanating from this particular summit. And sometimes we like even capturing the real voices of the learners. I believe that, of course, through the media team, we are able to capture real verbatim action points that were captured by the learners themselves, the teachers, and of course the report that will come out of this. We shall now have it as part of the policy making process, as evidence emanating from here. Definitely, we must gather a lot of evidence. We must do a lot of desk review. We sit together with the policy analysts, and then we are able to input in our policies, and not just policies. By the way, the recommendations that are coming from this particular summit, they are not only going to influence policy, they're influencing action already.
Okay.
That is the practice. Because the teachers who are here, for example, they are able to pick lessons. Like, for example, issues on AI, they don't need to wait until now we are giving direction. They are here to learn. There are things they are picking that can help them to integrate. You see, the policy is already there on integration of ICT. So the best methods of integrating them are already being discussed in the summit. So it is upon us, even us as educationists, we are picking very many critical lessons that we shall apply directly in our education sector. Yes.
Thank you very much, Kaberi. I'm sure the learners will be very happy to hear that and to also see some of their aspirations brought into the policy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Clearly, there's growing recognition, even at policy level, that learners must be active partners in shaping our EdTech future. But despite this momentum, some outdated beliefs still linger, ideas that quietly undermine student participation and slow progress in digital learning. And for that, let's bust a few myths and misconceptions. The first myth is that learners are too young to contribute meaningfully to policy.
The competency-based curriculum emphasizes learner agency and problem solving. Students often bring fresh, practical insights grounded in their lived experiences with technology in classrooms and at home.
Then we have the ICT in education policy is already comprehensive, so there's nothing to add.
While the 2021 policy covers access, quality, safety, and inclusion, it doesn't explicitly outline mechanisms for ongoing learner participation, leaving a very important perspective underrepresented.
The third one, access to devices automatically means digital skills.
Having a device is only the first step. Without proper training, support, and relevant digital content, learners may not develop the competencies they need to use technology effectively and safely.
And the fourth one says, online safety is just about blocking harmful websites.
True online safety involves digital wellness, responsible behavior, cyber ethics, and awareness of threats like data misuse, cyberbullying, and misinformation.
And finally, ICT policy implementation is the sole responsibility of government.
Effective integration of ICT in education requires collaboration among governments, schools, parents, communities, private sector, and most importantly, learners themselves.
Challenging these myths isn't just about changing mindsets, it's about shifting behaviors both in policy and in everyday spaces like classrooms and homes. So how can parents, teachers, and students themselves take simple steps to keep this momentum going? Let's hear from learners themselves on how we can all play a role in making digital learning more inclusive, engaging, and learner-led, starting right at home. If you're speaking to someone who likes to write things online without caring how their words would be, let's just call them a bully, what would you tell them right now?
I'll tell them, Manze, think about the other person. Try to put yourself in the feet or in the shoe of that person. And remember one thing and put it very clear in your mind that in everything that you do, one's deepest desire is appreciation. Every human loves appreciation. So just try to appreciate it. And if you don't like it, don't watch it, just pass it. Yeah.
What is your message for anyone who's out there and probably they're differently abled, or to their parents or teachers as well?
I'd say I'm giving you hope that a lot of good things will be coming very soon. We don't have to tend to feel bad or feel neglected. Enjoy life, live it to the fullest, whether you have it or not. Make the most out of what you have. Explore full creativity. Try to come up with solutions that can help you yourself. Then yeah, hope is coming. Things will work out for everyone.
Well, that is it for this month's edition of EdTech Mondays Kenya. We've seen how important it is to ensure that learners are also involved in policy making and that they too have some very brilliant ideas. Let's keep the conversation going on the hashtag EdTech Mondays Kenya. Special thanks to our sign language interpreter, Ms. Rose Omolo. My name is Ian Wafula. Until next time, goodbye.
EdTech Mondays Kenya is supported by the MasterCard Foundation Center for Innovative Teaching and Learning in partnership with EdTech East Africa.